Welcome to Spirit Baby Radio. I am your host, Kelly Meehan, a citizen of the universe and a passage keeper and mentor for our new Earth children. I believe we are entering into a new psychic structure of our reality, and it is meant to embody deeper trust and ways into solid self-love and fearless integrity. Our new world energy of spirit babies needs us to consciously create within conception, trust pregnancy, and have freedom to birth and parent from innate wisdom. This is Spirit Baby Radio. Welcome to episode 213. Self-healing is your birthright. Remembering who you are is everything. What does energy have to do with everyday life? How can you create and open up to healing on many levels? Do you have experiences with leptokinesis and astral projection? Are you open and ready to serve your healing? I'm always excited. I have a special guest episode. Garz, how are
Hello,
you?
good.
I,
How are
I
you?
I look at your name and I don't know why. I want to say Garza. I'm like, why do I want to add an A to her name?
Oh, like the Gaza Strip.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm going to read her gorgeous bio here, and it's Garza is Chan has studied and is certified in various healing modalities: Chinese energy healing, Kundalini yoga, Kundalini activation, DNA theta healing, aroma touch, energetics, light language, Akashic records, quantum touch, fifth dimensional quantum healing, pranic healing, the emotional code, star magic healing, leptokinesis, reconnection healing, Bengston method. I hope I said that right. Quantum Reiki, astral projection, psychic mediumship, master I.E.T. I love I.E.T. I had that training. Master NLP life coach, Reiki master, Tantric Reiki master, Tantric treatment, Arcturian healing method, and MAP. Ooh, MAP. Garz also teaches workshops at alchemistarts.com and started a publishing company, Conscious Child Collection, where she writes children's books for conscious children and progressive parents. And your bestseller award winner is The Kindness Guru, and it's found on Amazon. And there will be show notes. So if everybody's like, where is this information? You will find this information. So again, I want to share, I think this feels really important. It's like, how I connected with you. And, social media is very powerful. Energy is very powerful. I've met people around the world that if we can meet in person, we would have tea together and hang out. And it's just really quite fabulous. And I was just really intrigued by her presence and her just beauty of energy of just like, here, I'm just showing you and speaking to you about telekinesis or, whatever, an energy healing. And by the way, I spied and looked through your website and some of your YouTubes. And I'm just so curious because I watched you do a healing with somebody, right? I don't know maybe how I want to hear in a moment like how you do your work, how you were called into it, and what does it all mean? That's a big question. But and I'm like wondering, I'm like, I literally just clicked on something specific and it wasn't related to me, but it was something I've seen before, cancer, right? And especially pancreatic cancer. I was like, I've only met one woman that survived it so far, but everybody I meet, especially males, they're here one moment and they're gone. And I'm like, that's a big one. And just to see this woman, and I was watching the way your intent and your energy was working together, where it was just, can we say it was beautiful? It was just like there was something happening. And and I was like watching her, watching you, and because I'm noticing you do a lot of different things, of course, in your work. And I almost want to be like, how is she doing? And I don't even know what year that that video was, but I think I was like tuning in so much. I started seeing things about her as a child, and I was like, oh, where am I going? Where am I going? I'm like pulling back. I literally saw this little child like fighting inside her body, and I was like, oh, and it just melts my heart that there are people like you that can actually provide a different level and perspective of energy to go in there and let people do their own work, you know?
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So, how long ago was that video? Was that a long time ago?
I
I know
have,
you see so many people, it's probably hard to even remember.
I think that was part of a workshop, and I haven't done a
Okay.
workshop since maybe 2017.
Oh, wow.
It's been that long. Yeah. I
And
think
you're
that was,
ageless then because it looked like it looked like yesterday or something. That's
yeah.
funny. I love it. So tell me more. Yeah, tell us more about you. Like this work that you do and this, yeah, what how it all kind of come together for you.
Well, I have studied a lot of different modalities. I can't say that I'm a master at any of them, but I've learned a lot of different modalities over the past 17 years. I typically just like to learn things that interest me. Maybe it's like, Sagittarius moon, I don't know. But my granddad also had a very strong passion for learning. And so I guess I got that from him. My mum also. Uh, I didn't do too well at school academically. And so maybe I'm making up for it now. But also, I find every modality has its strengths and weaknesses. So I like to have a diverse toolbox because some people respond well to energy healing, Chinese energy healing. Some people respond well to this psychic surgery. Some people respond well to something more gentle, like the I.E.T, integrated energy therapy, working with archangels. And some people work really well with the just chakra clearing. So sometimes some modalities are more gentler for the person, and others are a bit more invasive. So it depends on the person. It's just, I guess it's like building a house sometimes. Well, it's not like a building a house, but sometimes you can just use a screwdriver to fix everything, and sometimes you need a whole bunch of different tools. But I will say that as a young child, my granddad would often rub his palms together and just place them on my stomach if I had a stomach ache, which was on a regular basis. And he would just take my pain away. And I thought that that was a normal thing that everyone did. But then I later found out that no, it was just my granddad that did that. But my granddad was also someone who grew his own fruits and vegetables, and he made his own healing ointments, and he practiced Tai Chi every day, and he practiced calligraphy every day, and that was the kind of person he was. Uh, but I had no intention of being a healer. I actually trained as an actor in the theater, acting and dancing. It wasn't until my son, he was he was about a year old, and he had seven colds back to back, back to back, back to back. And I thought, there's something not right here. He only had like a 1 day wellness in between these colds. And then I was in touch with a healer who put me in touch with his master, waited 2 weeks for a 20-minute phone call session at the time. Yeah. And he didn't actually work on my son. He worked on me and my
Interesting.
husband at the time. And the next day, my son was well. And he said, "Oh, come and watch my demo." And at the time, it was at the Bodhi Tree bookstore in Los Angeles on Melrose Avenue. So I went and watched him. He was like a Jedi master. It was incredible. So after the demo, I approached him and to give him credit and thanks. And he just kind of like scoffed and was like, "It's easy. You can do it." I was like, "What?" And then yeah, I was a bit perplexed. But my mum was visiting from England at that time, and she's retired. So I said to her, everyone says that you have this healing energy about you. Maybe you can go and take his workshop. And she said, well, your birthday's coming up. Why don't I gift the workshop for you? And you can go take the workshop and then you can work on your son. And
Mm.
at the time, I thought, uh, that seems like a bit of a whack, lame birthday present. Like, I don't really want a birthday present. And I was like, no, thanks. I was very reluctant, very resistant. But my mum's a smart lady. And yeah, I went and did the workshop. And I was just able to work on people that weekend. But
Mm.
still, I wasn't interested in becoming a healer because, I have a very colorful past and I was, smoking cigarettes and had my fair share of, partying. I mean, I was, went to my first nightclub when I was 12.
Oh, wow. That's a big deal.
I was raving at like 15, 16, Uh, so and like I said, a very, very colorful past. So I did not see myself as like this healer. I thought, oh, you have to be like pure and wholesome and innocent and, vegan and live in an ashram and a this kind of stuff to be a healer. But it wasn't but I was able to work on people that very first weekend and I was quite surprised. It came to me quite naturally. And then I would say when I got divorced, I kind of like got really mad at the universe and I was like, what do you want me to do? Like I came here
Mm.
to, be an actor, but if you think that I should better serve humanity by becoming a healer, which I really don't think I am, but if you think that's how I should serve humanity, then I need a full-time um, you know, practice in like
Mm.
2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I had a full-time practice.
Wow.
And I'd say for the first 2 years, I was like, I think you got the wrong person. I don't think this is for me. I don't
Yeah.
think it's me. And I think I did that for about 5 years. I just kept working on these people but I kept going, I don't think this is me, I guess I had a lot of judgment about uh who a healer is. I'm not ashamed of my past, but I had judgment on that transition, right? Being a healer, I guess.
No,
So
I
yeah,
totally understand. And I think a lot of healers out there that tune in that have been doing it for quite some time understand like, nobody goes, when I grow up, I want to be a mommy or a fireman. No one's like, I want to be a medium or an energy healer. Like we don't hear that, right? We don't. And that's why I always feel like I like to use the word the universe because it feels so neutral. Like the universe just throws us into whatever we're at. And I think I totally understand that feeling of like when I was like, I'm a spirit baby medium. Like it's literally a term I invented. And then I'm like, what is that? What am I doing? And it did take some time. And I'm like, am I even doing anything? Like, what's happening? And then people had things happen and results. And I had to really sit in reflection, like literally probably 8 years into it was like maybe 9 years like why do I do this, who am I, and honestly it all stems from my mother and the wounds that I was born into and the challenge for like forever and I was like, well, what is it you want to do, Kelly? And I was like, well, it'd be really nice, and I know it has a reflection of me to bring babies in connection with their mothers, and then there it was. I was like, and I think that I actually do feel like there's some deeper subconscious yearning for my own reality. And then someone said to me not too long ago, so do you feel healed? And I was like, wow, I don't know. I was like, I don't know if it ever gets to that level. It's just, you have a connection with mother, father, and you did share. I want to kind of go back, your son's having these multiple chronic issues and I always feel like this feels really important to share because I know those are tuning in have earth children is what I call them, spirit baby, then there's earth children. And earthside children, they are a deep reflection of their parents, no matter if the parents there or if they're not there or if they're dead. And we don't understand that enough. I think a lot of people will go, well, something's wrong with the child, go fix them, right? And
Mm.
I'm like, wow, it's so much deeper than that. And I've seen it even mentally and psychologically, where, I'm not a big proponent on putting children on any medications for psychological support. And I'm like, I mean, unless there's some severe disability, and even that there's a remedy, I feel like of nature of working with the energy. But I wanted to kind of spotlight that because I know many, again, are like tuning in, like, oh, wait, I have this issue or this problem. And maybe we can even, like, kind of, there's so many things I want to talk about, but even from that space, or maybe I can ask you, have you seen or noticed, is there like themes in energy with people, like emotionally, maybe even now in this timeline? Like, are you like, whoa, there's a lot of this energy coming up, whether it's sadness, grief, or anger, or am I like putting you too much in a general question?
Well, as a healer, I listen to problems every day, right? So it's mainly trauma. Yeah, there's loads of trauma. And interestingly enough, it's the trauma that activates people. So, you have pros and cons, right? So this like, okay, this person has experienced a lot of trauma, which makes them have low self-esteem or no self-worth, or they lack confidence, or they're not manifesting or creating the life that they want. They're not creating the abundance, the prosperity, the health, the relationships that they want. But at the same time, the trauma has activated or instigated a healing journey for them. And so they go on this path of exploration and discovery and healing, which provides so much depth and richness to their life, you know? So I would say, uh, yeah, I've not come across anyone who's not like a walking graphic novel.
Hmm.
Yeah. And those who find me usually are people who are empathic or highly sensitive, or they are a secret healer in some way.
Mm.
Either a secret healer or a shaman or a psychic or a medium or someone who's considered a light worker. Yeah. But
Something just popped in my head, and this is what I'm very curious about. So I found like in my 20s, I did a lot of energy healing work with this one woman. And I think she literally represented the feminine mother, we can even say. And it really transformed my life. Like it literally transformed me to a level of being seen by a feminine being that wasn't going to hurt me, that wasn't going to judge me, that was loving me. And it was so phenomenal. And it went on for years. And I really am such a big proponent that like energy healing work, energy work is like just a part of our everyday life, but just to that level. And then, now years later, I'm connecting with different healers and things are coming up. And my curiosity is, so, I'm working with the healer and it feels amazing, but then how do you sustain it? Right? It's like you go back into the old story, the wounds or new things come up, right? And I'm so curious about that. What you can say about that. How do you then support like their sustainability in their own continuous wellness?
mm, I find healing, it's not linear, you know? You don't go from A, B, C, D, E, or one, two, three, four, five. For me, healing is very cyclical, and there's many layers to it, you
Mm.
know? And I have met clients in their 50s and 60s who are like, I don't want to be working on my mother issues anymore, you know? Like, I'm tired of this shit.
It sounds like me. I'm like, done, mom. My mom's been dead now. I'm coming up to her 8-year anniversary. And I'm like, okay, are we done with this?
Yeah, but I always say to people, that's don't see it as your mother issue. Just see it as this is your issue. Like you are your lifelong project. You are your masterpiece. And this is what you agreed to come into this life to resolve
I
for
love
your,
that.
you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, it's like a package, you know? So it's not specifically you're dealing with the mother. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I always feel like I love a good blame and victimization. But yeah, no, I thought you explained that excellent. I really appreciate that because then it's like, yeah, it kind of makes you anchor into grounding into you instead of going outside so much. It's like, oh, this is me. What about me? And that's why I really felt like I wanted to call this episode about self-love, our birthright, our connection to who we are, and how do we keep, yeah, facilitating that. And that was really helpful because you see things, right? It's like again, like people get into patterns or things shift around, and then it's like I like the masterpiece of me, or I always feel like project me. But project could be daunting, but it can be daunting to be in a human body, right? I mean, it really can be. I'm not going to minimize that, right? It's like this can take some work sometimes, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, energetically. But
Mm.
I want to so a lot of uh besides, the children energy, a lot of men and women that tune in, I really attract a lot of infertility and I attract a lot of miscarriage. It's like I call it my accidental purpose because it's not something that's been my experience, which I share openly in my book, but it's something that I'm always just, okay, I'm showing up for, I'm showing up for, I'm showing up for. What can you say? Maybe there's something that you've worked with or about someone that has infertility and I've seen, especially women come to me, so, and men have, but like with infertility for a lot of these women, they have no known cause. Like
Mm.
physically, they're like, uterus, you got eggs, you got this. And it's like we are so external physical centric somehow that it's like, no, you need to find the follicle that's not working or the lining. And what can you say about that? And I know it's very frustrating for women especially because they feel very responsible for the gestation and the womb, even though in the past years I've said that the sperm is not as good as it used to be, and there's so much stress and energy in that. But yeah, what can you say about infertility? And maybe you've seen something in your own work with others.
Yeah, I have worked with women who have come to me because of infertility, and there have been some success, I would say. Every woman is different, but I will say that generally, when I drop into the energy field of a woman who is desperately wanting to be a mother, first of all, there's a lot of stress that's stored in the body. And no child really wants to be conceived through stress, right? And then the second thing is oftentimes when I drop in, I will see that they've had other lifetimes, like negative experiences, lifetimes of being a parent or being a widow or pregnancy issues or complications they've had in other lifetimes that's stored in the body. And sometimes they've had sexual abuse and that's stuck in the body. And sometimes they even have sexual abuse, like remnants from other lifetimes, that's causing a blockage in the body as well. And sometimes they have, in other lifetimes, died during childbirth.
Mm.
Sometimes they have had a mother die during childbirth as they came through the birth
Mm-hmm.
after they were born. So I clear all of these traumas that they have experienced. And also in the reproductive system, there can be things like disgust that's been accumulating, shock, fear, horror, shame.
Mm.
All these things get stuck in the reproductive system, you know. Also, in some cases, they are not supposed to have a child with that particular person.
Yeah, that's a big one.
But you can't tell someone you're with the wrong person. That'd be highly unethical.
Yeah, and I've actually had clients come and they got that message, but they didn't want to change it. And they go forward with no earth child. So yeah, there's options and choices, right? And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that's everybody's story, but yeah, that's a big deal. And we do carry a lot of different energies, right? In our sacred bowl, in our pelvic floor. And I feel like it's just so, especially now, I'm hearing a lot of just friends and women like, God, got that, thing again in the back or the hip. And I'm just like, wow. And I know because I have my own stuff, and I go, my gosh, this is never ending. Like I'm laughing, but my laughing is more of like shit. Like, this is like there's deep stuff to release all the time, right? You'd say, I mean, it's just
I have found also that even if the woman has not experienced sexual abuse, if the mother or the grandmother or the ancestors have, and it's trickled down in their lineage, it also shows up in the body as trauma, as their own trauma.
Yeah, that's powerful. You're probably tapping a little bit into my reality because I've said this for a long time because I grew up with a mother, here we go, not just that she was mentally ill in the 70s, but she had molestation and physical and sexual abuse. And I always said when I was very young, I empath, physical empath, so taking it on. I actually had a shamanic healer a long time ago. You're making me remember this, where she laid on the table next to me. I literally went into her house, completely had trust in these like different things I did, and like literally walk into someone's home, don't even know. And I remember shaking. And I said, I think I'm cold. And she goes, You're not cold, you're releasing energy. And I realized that she was right. And she took out stuff from my womb space. She asked me if I had an abortion or fibroids or something. That's what it looked like in my body. And it didn't click till later, but she said it was connected to my mom's stuff. And I was like, wow, I was really holding like my mom's, things. And it made me go, that's curious. And I would bring this up to energy healer circles or people. Nobody ever really addressed it. And I love that you said that in the sense of like, I had a mother that had certain energy characteristics. And I knew when I was a teenager, when everybody was sexual, and I thought I was scared. And I thought, that's interesting. I knew, it's like I knew something was up with that, but I didn't know where to go and heal that and fix it. And it's been a long journey of healing that whole space because I was like, wow, that influence was highly impactful. I
Mhm.
literally to the point where I was like, maybe I'll be asexual. Like I was like, that, yeah, I had to sit with that. I was like, And then I started attracting a lot of friends as teenagers who were asexual or now are actually homosexual. And so it was really interesting. I was like, what is that? And I, connected with my husband now, literally one person intimately, and everybody's going to hear this now, for like many, many years. There was so much to work around that. Like I had no idea. And I was very fortunate because I got a very sensitive, gentle connection to like ease my way through into being this like sexual being with that permission. And so I really, yeah, I appreciate you saying that because people don't think about that. Like, yeah, what if your mother and father were like sexually abused and unhealed around it? That has to be so impactful to us. But again, I think I don't hear it because, now sexual conversations are more open, but back in like, years ago is like so secretive. Like,
Mm.
we're not talking about it. Like, and even to the point where I think this feels important too, is like I knew I had a phobia of giving birth
Mm.
because I felt like the baby's coming through my vagina out my body felt super activating. And I did have a physical injury to my pelvic floor layers. And so I remember I said to the midwives, this really makes me nervous and why I started to have children way later. And they were like, don't worry about it. I was worried about it. So my first birth was highly traumatic. Yeah, it sent me into a very dark place because I felt like I knew something was off, but then it wasn't acknowledged because nobody really thought about the pelvic floor. And if you're giving birth and your pelvic floor is not opening, because of all that stuff, it's like, oh, and now I tell women, young women, is like, Yeah, do pelvic floor work, do pelvic floor therapy, go to a somatic sexological worker, look at the energy of your pelvic floor. Or it's that suppression and that holding and that tightening is, is a part of the path too. But and I know many women that come with infertility and working on the fertility space, especially with intervention. It's so big right now. Like, and again, I've worked with intervention and natural conception, but intervention, I do feel like we have to be not taking it so nonchalantly. It's like it's very serious. There's something happening, and our bodies are going to be like, I don't know if I like that, right?
Mm, mm, mm. As you're talking, I saw lifetimes of you experiencing uh, genital mutilation.
I will get chills when you said that because I had in my 20s when I just didn't really know about this spiritual energetic. I was very curious. I had a vision that I gave child. I had literally in the middle, like I'm like, what is this? I had birth. It was very vivid, and there was a death in the birth. And I also had like seen abuse through past life regression as a little girl and a father, and I literally saw myself being killed. And so I appreciate you saying that because I feel like this is like yeah, this goes deep and then perpetuating the energy in this reality too, because it's like, oh, the mother I came through. And my birth was very traumatic from the beginning. So I
Mm,
was, if you know, I don't know if you know about birth stuff, but I was a non-labored cesarean breech, which is a big deal in birth psychology because there's no, I'm upside down, supposedly, which is a different variation of birth. Nothing wrong with breech. But
mm,
I wasn't told when to come out. There was no um, alertness to me, like, the natural flow. It was just like, I'm here. And I've
mm,
had birth memories in my 30s, then they came in my 30s. So I'm like looking at all these things just coming up. And this is why I'm very grateful to have had children later. And
mm,
I felt like I joke that my firstborn broke my second chakra open. He did. And he brought a level of healing. Like, and I know it's not just me, others have experienced that, but literally the dark night of my soul. Like, I was like, and I think some part of me always knew that. And it made me scared to become a mother, really. And then
mhm.
I was like, one day I was like, that's unfair, Kelly. Like, what if there's a being that wants to come and be in this world and be a part of you? And I'm like, gosh, are you going to be selfish? I was. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to be selfish because my fear was so powerful. And then I was like, well, let me just see what happens. And then, boom, he was like, I'm coming.
I don't get that you were being selfish. I feel like there
Yeah.
was a connect between you and your mother when you were in her womb, and you really wanted to make sure that that didn't happen between you and your kid. I feel like you wanted to make sure that you were ready to be connected, excuse me,
Mm.
child, before you allowed yourself to get pregnant. Like you wanted to be present and connected, and you didn't want it to happen before then because you know what it's like to be in the womb and be disconnected to the mother.
You're like 100% accurate because you don't know this, but I've said this before. I was like, I don't know if I ever want to have children because I didn't want to be disconnected the way my mom is with her two sons. And I literally had two sons. Yeah, I was like, and that was a really big thing of me. Like, I know, like, people dream of being a mother, but my fear was so strong, like, to be like, I didn't want to have, like, literally what you just said was one of the reasons. And then I dropped in and was like, but it's so beautiful how you said it was like, yeah, my conscious Kelly was like, wait, what are we doing? And how am I bringing my children here? And they've offered me more healing than I can ever imagine, to be honest, because I
Mhm,
didn't want to have them to heal me. I was really conscious of that, and it's still a really big trigger because of the way my mom, I had to take care of her for so long, especially in the last 20 years
mhm,
and it was just ugly. And so then I'm like, but my children are different, they're not my brothers, they're not connected to my mom, like they're their own sovereign souls that have their own mission. And it's been really beautiful. More recently, as I soften into my own nervous system and feel like grounded in who I am, to watch just who they're becoming and the reflection of so many hopefully good parts of of my reality because I don't want them to go through what I went through. Like I literally, I have to tell you, yesterday I was driving to see some friends in my new town, and I was like crying in happiness because my younger son, who's 8 years old now, he is so in his body. He is so regulated. He is so much love. And that is new to me. Even now, it brings emotion because people don't understand when you live in dysregulation and fear your whole life, which is why I have multiple body issues. It's like to see that, and I'm just like, that's a part of my life. Like, what do I deserve this? Like, it just is incredible to me to just be in connection with seeing that free-spirited being. And I literally just posted him on Instagram catching little ice balls in the sky, like just, and I was really, yeah, I was really like, wow, he gets to be like he gets to be expressive. He doesn't have to hide like, and maybe he will hide someday. I don't know. Hopefully I won't provoke that in him. But
That's beautiful.
anyways, yeah. Thank you.
That is beautiful. My friends and I who have children, sometimes we go, man, we had such fucked up childhoods. But the unconscious upbringing that we had made us become conscious parents.
Mm,
So it is beautiful when you watch your child and you witness them being who they came here to be, doing what they came here to do, because you created that space for them. And I created a space for my child because of the upbringing that I had, right? Because my father was a violent alcoholic, very unconscious, very disconnected, very cruel, very mean. Um, so then we vow we're not raising our children the same way. My child is going to have a completely different experience, you know?
yeah.
And don't you find that when your child is at a certain age, say he's 8 years old, but you were going through a really rough time at 8 years old, maybe you were being abused, and then you see him being healthy and joyful and expressive, it reminds you of how you weren't like that at 8 years old. And it hurts, you know?
I see that a lot with my older one because I call it, we had a trauma bond and he just turned 14. But watching him go through different periods of his life were very activating. And I even saw that with my husband. Like when my son was 2, I was like, my husband, there was a lot of combativeness and energy and arguing. And I'm like, how are you arguing with this 2-year-old? And then I was like, oh my gosh. And then I saw it. There was something like in his, because he wasn't allowed to be a certain way. And it's interesting. So we have such different styles of parenting, and we're like, working them together in different ways and seeing all the angles. But I noticed that, and now I'm like entering puberty in the teen years, and it's so much more easier, to be honest. I don't know why. Maybe because he's male, and I know male brains chemistry wise are very different. But I felt like he was my kinesthetic wild child for a long time, and now he's like evening out and like he's finding who he is in the world in a different way in this most beautiful holistic education. It's literally not connected to any governments, non-profit. It's like this, I mean, it's incredible. And it's literally brings me to tears that he gets to have that experience because I didn't, because I was learning disabled, and because and you said earlier about learning, what I've discovered about these are, dyslexic learners or learning issued people are out of the box creative thinkers, but we see the world in energy. We
Mhm.
literally see the world in energy. So give me the energy class and I will be A plus plus. Give me this left brain stuff. I can't do it. And maybe some part of me doesn't want to do it. It's
Yeah,
nonsense.
yeah.
People are like, do you remember history? Remember? I don't remember any of that stuff. So then I have children and I go, so now I'm supposed to fill their mind up with all this nonsense, right? Or maybe there's more holistic, more different ways of educating. So we're kind of doing right now, we moved and everything. So we got this one holistic education, a bit of unschooling with the little one. And so it's kind of like, okay, we're just going to figure it out as it goes. But You're right. It's like we are children and they mirror things or things come up and agitate through certain things. And I've seen that even with clients that have come through with infants, like all of a sudden their infant has this really odd, issue that nobody could figure out.
Mm,
And I'm like, well, because it's really not physical. Like it's a physical reaction based on the energy. And that's the place I hope to hold for all people,
mm.
and all babies and children. Like they, instead of being inundated by over medical, which is another past trauma I have, it's like, let's, do all these external realities, but then, no one's getting better. And I'm not talking about you break a bone and you cut your whatever. I'm talking about like the chronic patterns of like, oh, that's interesting. And I like, nobody can fix it. Nobody could figure it out. And this is where I'm really big proponent. I'm like, energy healing, energy wellness, energy. Look at the root and let the body heal itself.
Yeah, yeah. It's quite easy to work on children, actually.
I
But
love
they got
that.
to be open to it, though. Some people force their children to do energy healing. And if the children aren't open to the energy healing, it doesn't really work because they'll just block it energetically.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had so many clients over the years go, oh, you have to work on my husband. You have to work on my sister. You
Oh,
have to work
yeah.
on my... And I go, but they have to be open to it. And they go, yeah, 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 yeah. But then and then the person comes on Zoom or whatever and they go, uh, I don't know who you are. I don't know what you do. I don't know what I'm doing here. But my wife, my cousin, my mum, got me a session. And it's like, okay, because what I do is so specific. This is why I don't solicit clients or approach clients. It's like, if you're interested, you'll find me. You will find me if you're interested, you know? Um, and I find that the kids who are open, adults too, if they're open to energy healing, then they are a lot more receptive. But if they go, okay, I don't really know what you do, and you can tell they're not really
Oh,
interested,
gosh. Yeah.
it's a waste of their money
I
because
feel the same way. Like I really trust who comes in my sessions, but on occasion in the past years, I'll get like, hey, my husband should see you. And the first thing I say is only if they want to. And I've had them book and one time I had this guy and I said, do you want to be here? Because you're right. It really, if you're just going to come and you got to prove something, and I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, it's just not going to work. So I've been fortunate, but I know what you're saying. It's like, or I've had people say, "Hey, can you work with this person?" And I'm like, "Do they even want to?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure," like you said, but then they really don't. And I says, "I can't. I'm not going to battle that. I want people that want to be here and that want to." But I think that people like me and you in that space, we can be scary for some people, right?
Mhm.
It's like, "Oh, wait, I'm going to have to see some things or do some work or release things because I know like." We want to release these things in us, right? But then I do feel like that subconscious part is like, am I going to die? Am I going to survive? It's not real, right? It's like, this is what I remind people. Like, someone's like, well, Kelly, you've been healing this thing in your body and it's bothering you again. And I'm like, yeah, it's fucking deep. Like, I was like, yeah, logically, my mind's like, yeah, let's be free. But I was like, it has some deep root connected to a lot of other things. And I said, and then so because I get annoyed sometimes someone's like, "Oh, we'll just do this and it'll be fine, right?" And I'm like, and maybe I've invested in the lineage of it so deeply, but it's like I'm like to me, like for me, it's like the psychic energy is so deep. It's like, and I'm like letting it move away in layers as my frequency elevates into that space to go like, oh my gosh. But and I know because a lot of people we go into these patterns, like whether it be physical or even mental. I know some people, and I've seen you've done work with anxiety or depression, like people really just get so locked in to that reality that then that becomes everything, especially anxieties. I notice with a lot of people. And I like if I have an anxiety come up, which is not common, and I feel like my heart racing. Like I'm very physiological. I go, oh shit, I don't like that. That's what I do. I'm very fortunate with that. But then I'm a physical manifester, right? So then I'm like, oh, well, there I'm like limping for like months, right? And I'm like, of course. So then again, I know we all are like kind of manifesting working energy in different ways, but I believe in people. Like, as you do, like people, we can heal and we do heal, and that's so powerful.
Mm.
Um,
Also, I don't although they call me a healer, but I'm not really healing anyone, you know? Like I see myself more as like a cleaner, like a janitor. I'm just
oh, I like that.
cleaning up the mess, blockage, the clutter, and the person kind of heals themselves, you know? Like I
That
don't
could be
claim.
your new tagline, the janitor's here to help you. It's true because obviously our own resistance could be like, yeah, come on and heal. And then there's stuff happening, and then it's like, it's not enough, or it's like, you didn't heal me right. Do you know what I mean? Like, or what does this mean? It's like, oh, as I would say, you're a sovereign soul that has authority over energies of softening and releasing and surrendering. So I actually like that, janitor. That's a good one.
People need just a light dusting and a Hoover.
Yeah. It's like in your
People,
house when you kind of need a little refresh.
some people need a deep clean.
Yes, that's true. There you
Some people
go.
need a remodel.
Yes. I know we're coming close to the end, but I want to kind of jump in. And I love where this whole conversation, we could talk forever. There's so many beautiful, I feel like pieces that people are going to really kind of take away. But leptokinesis. And I know astral projection, but I had to Google leptokinesis, and I didn't like what Google said, by the way. I think they said it's like they made it seem like, like any of this work that it's maybe not, whatever their you know what I'm saying, their negative angle, like, oh, well, this is what, and I'm like, wow, like, have we not come past that, Google? But Google, that whole thing, I know it is at lower frequency, so they don't want people to have real true freedom. But I love okay. So I was practicing telekinesis like probably 20 years ago, and I was really bad at it, by the way. And I want to reactivate it because you really inspired me because there's such a truth to when you're in that. And I do know that we can manipulate, move, and change energy. And in my dreams, though, like I know how to fly. But when I come here, I know that feeling and connection to fly, but I'm not flying yet, right? Like there's something in that. And so it makes me think of maybe you can define leptokinesis and telekinesis. Are those different?
Yeah. So
Okay.
telekinesis is using your mind to move light objects, right? Whereas leptokinesis is a modality that someone labeled as his modality, and his name is escaping me right now. Um, but there's a guy that I saw on TikTok who has an energy healing modality called leptokinesis. And if you just search leptokinesis on TikTok, you'll find him. And it's basically using the power of your mind and the energy from your eyes
Mm,
to scan the person's body to see where there are weaknesses and blockages. And then you use your mind, your thoughts, and the energy from your mind and your eyes to unblock those blockages in the body. And sometimes, if the person is extremely sensitive, they'll start twitching and moving,
mm.
just like a tantric treatment, or almost like a spinal energetics, or almost like a Kundalini activation.
Sign me up. Okay, yeah. And then, okay, I'm glad you defined that because I was like, what, there's some new things. When you said that, it made me think of physical mediumship.
Mhm.
And it's very big in your part of the world. The energy there is I feel like the medium energy is very powerful in that whole region. Um, and for a while, I was really into it, like following people. And I was like, what is that? Like, I do someday have a dream to sit in a space of physical empath, not empath, physical mediumship, because I know that it's real and I
Mhm.
know that something's happening. But then I always say, if you're meant to be in that space, Kelly, it'll show up. And I don't think in Bend, Oregon, they're doing that. Oh, I don't know where the consciousness is here yet of those things that are just in a different frequency, we'll say. But yeah, it
You can
makes me,
start it.
yeah, that's true too. It makes me very curious because again, I do feel like our physical world and our energy world were intertwined and we can move. And you did say something earlier, which we won't get too deep into, but psychic surgery.
Mhm.
And that's kind of in alignment, I feel like, with some of the things you were sharing. And I've met maybe one or two people that said they were psychic surgeons, not very many. Um, and I get it. Like, I get it. Like, maybe even just define that real quick for everybody.
Psychic surgery. There are different ways of performing psychic surgery, but I will say the way I do it is I pull up the person's hologram and I will insert them into like some crystal holographic eggs, right? Depending on what I feel like they need. For example, rose quartz to surround them with love, or obsidian to absorb any negativity. And when I pull up their hologram, I just start looking for things that are stuck in their hologram. It could be parasites, it could be entities, it could be a spanner, it could be a thorn, it could be a hammer, it could be a bicycle wheel. All kinds of things will show up. Now, it's not my job to question where is that from, what lifetime, what
Mm,
realm, what caused that. It's not really my job to investigate why these things are showing up in the person's hologram. I just remove them.
nice. Yeah.
And after I remove the things that I am seeing in the hologram, they usually feel much better or the pain has gone. That's it.
Thank you for defining that. And I want just your final love words for those tuning in, and also ways that people can contact you. And I will have those in available as well, but I want, anything specific or any upcoming projects in May to share. Thank
Yeah.
you.
If you would like a private session, you can book online at ChineseEnergyHealing.com. And if you're interested in my workshops, you can find them at alchemistsartshealing.com. And then the telekinesis stuff is free. Light language is free. You can find those on Instagram at Garz Chan, on TikTok at Garz Chan, or on my YouTube channel, Alchemists Arts Healing. And I do post energy healing sessions as well, and you can piggyback off of those sessions by instructing your body to receive the sessions. And I also have three children's books. So one is called The Kindness Guru. It teaches children how to love themselves, which is extremely important. And the second book is called Flipper Feet Pete, and that teaches children that it's okay to be different. And then the third one is called The Little Healer, and it teaches children how to harness their healing abilities or become a healer.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I love that. Thank you for the work that you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
And I want to thank you all for joining episode 213. Self-healing is your birthright. Remembering who you are is everything. Thank you for joining Spirit Baby Radio with your host, me, Kelly Meehan. Please join my community and stay in touch with monthly energy rants, Spirit Baby poetry, and get access to Spirit Baby 101 with tips and practices at my newsletter at newearthchildren.com. And join me on Instagram with lives at Spirit Baby Medium, and join the Mighty Networks, the Spirit Baby Collective membership, and Motherhood to Mediumship. Remember, you are the heart that holds communication, and it is your time to connect. Come share in the great shift of your mind and the true spirit of your heart with Spirit Baby Communication.